first fleet?
I downloaded the Twitter app on my phone for the first time yesterday.
Wait.
I've never
Wait. You've only ever done Twitter on desktop?
Or just right on the web browser on my Chrome.
Well, but so you've done it on your phone, but you just go to the web browser?
Yeah, I didn't download the app. Yeah.
Wow, this is fascinating. Was it like, I understand if you just are always at your computer and doing it, but why would you go into Twitter on your phone and not get the app?
I didn't even start doing Twitter until the beginning of this year, like actually sending out tweets and shit. So I didn't give a shit. I didn't need it. All I would use it for is if I wasn't at my desktop and there was like NBA injury related news. And I was only going to a couple pages for that anyways. So I never needed it. And I just never bothered to put it on there. And then I saw that fleet shit and I'm like, what the hell is this? I'm like, oh, it's got to be on the actual app.
Wow. You are such a boomer. I cannot believe that you haven't had the app this whole time.
Who gives a shit? And so I download it, and my first fleet is you.
Yeah, Jake gets it.
So I played it, and then I was like, I should just delete this fucking thing. What's the point?
No, dude, you got to get in the fleet game. I want to see what a Brian Hooper fleet looks like.
Oh, God. So that's just like TikTok for...
No, I would say it's Instagram stories for... Yeah, it's funny because I have an Instagram that's just, friends and family and stuff. And I never use stories on there because it's just like, whatever. But now it's like, I kind of like it. I know there's a lot of, pushback from people, but like, I kind of like the chaff, the stuff you don't want to put on your Twitter feed or like video, random stuff that I just don't want. Like, I like the ephemeral nature of the stories and the disappearing thing. Like Snapchat, when it first came out, that was revolutionary. This idea you could send something and after 10 seconds of someone watching it, it was gone. Like I see the appeal in that. Yeah. But I think so far the pushback I've seen from people who don't like Fleet are people who aren't going to be good at Fleet. So it kind of makes sense.
That's fair enough. Yeah. No, I have no problem with it. They just need to put it on the desktop so I don't have to download the app.
Yeah. Matthew in the chat, using Twitter on the desktop is worse than using Discord on the desktop. That's a reference to Leone. When we do our Tilt Space stuff, we do it like they produce it through Discord, but Leone has never downloaded the Discord app. He just only does it through the browser and it ends up having a lot of issues.
Oh shit. Yeah. I have Discord downloaded on my PC. Is that?
Yeah, dude, you're now in the Deposit Kingdom Discord, man.
That's right. Yeah.
Except you might have gotten what you wish for. Now it's just a bunch of people asking you to release The Sims each week.
Yeah, that's true. No, it's hasn't been too overwhelming on any of the Discords. I think I like Discord more than Slack. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm with you too. It seems, I guess, I don't know if I can articulate what do you like better about it?
You could block people. That's pretty nice.
I haven't had to do that yet, so I wasn't familiar with that feature.
I haven't either, but I want to have that power.
Yeah,
just in case. I don't know. I think it's more like user friendly, the UI experience.
Yeah, it does. I mean, I know Slack has a lot of like bot integration stuff, but I like in mine, this guy Siler set it up for me. And he has like in the announcements tab, he was able to pull in, like he has your YouTube in there now, all of my YouTube shows. And so you just get a push in there when stuff goes live. And yeah, it's cool. It's been, I'm not super active in there, but it's just a place where a bunch of, I think, like-minded people can get together and hang out, which I know I'm literally describing the point of any Discord ever. But my first foray into it has been a positive experience.
I was thinking about opening one for my site, and just so like I don't want to do customer service, but I feel like, okay, if like something's broken on your end that maybe I can fix, just go into my Discord and DM me there. Like, cause I'm already on there, what I mean? Like I already have it open during the day. So maybe for like a customer service ease of use thing, I might do one.
Well, I feel it. And you've been doing more with your site now, and you've been putting more stuff up there. I know you ended up putting your Masters DFS ownership projections. Like, what are your current like goals or things you want to do with that as far as for public facing stuff?
I'm working on some apps to make for like sports betting. I'll show them to you when they're ready, but they're not ready yet. But basically, just like nothing DFS related, just sports betting related, and it's just stuff I want. And then I'm gonna the apps I'm gonna have to charge for. They cost too much fucking money, like to host and to pay coders and stuff.
Yeah.
So like and it won't be on my site. It'll be on like you have to download it.
Okay.
It won't be a big file or anything, but I'll show you. Hopefully you never know with coders. They're kind of like construction, not construct, like home improvement contractors.
Yeah.
It's like, this will be done in 2 months. 6 months later, you're like, get the fuck out of my house. Like,
dude,
coders are kind of similar. You're like, this is not what I asked for.
I have a follow-up on this. I'm not going to lose this, but we had, because my office, like it was open concept, flows right into the kitchen. And with me doing so many shows this year and Lauren, she's gotten really into making chocolate. So she's in the kitchen all the time. I'm over here. So we were like, we got to get a door. So we had this barn door installed, but because of COVID and stuff, I was having a hard time finding someone to come in. I was just trying to find like a local carpenter and stuff. Ended up finding these guys and they came in and it was just an absolute shit show. They did like 4 trips to Home Depot. They didn't have like the leveling set. And I'm sitting here like, oh my God, I made the worst hire ever. And it ends up working out, but I thought this was going to be like a 2-hour project and they were here all day.
It's like a mechanic. Like once you find a good one, you stick with them, especially if you don't know what the fuck you're doing. Are you like a handy guy?
No.
Okay, me either. So like, I don't think this would surprise anybody, but like, so like you could easily get someone in there who's like, oh, this guy's an idiot. I'm going to stay here for 12 hours. And so I've had good ones and bad ones, mostly bad ones. My last one was a guy who was what's it called? Flipping houses guy.
Yeah.
During the boom, so like early 2000s, and so this guy was doing like 4 to 10 million in housing flips. He had this huge company, and 2003, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah.
Boom. I mean, I shouldn't laugh. It's horrible because he was like pretty old. Like he was got to be in his late 60s, and everything, and he just lost everything in the crash. And now he's doing, the skills he has is just home improvement stuff, working for this company. But he was cool as fuck, and like, so I got his number too. So like for small stuff, it's not a bad thing to keep that number around.
I know. I'm still trying to find like one of those like retainer handymen that I can just trust for stuff. I see a lot of questions coming in the chat. We will get to those tonight. This is gonna be a free flowing show, a little Q&A. We'll talk some sports betting, some DFS. So if for some reason we miss your question, feel free to repost it later in the show. We'll try to get to it. But I did want to ask you with your site and stuff, it seems like right now you're most intellectually interested in sports betting over DFS. Is that still true?
Yes. But they go hand in hand for what I'm doing for the most part. Like the prop bets just make sense because I'm already doing it. I just had to build out the sportsbook odds and stuff on my computer and then upload them to my site for everyone else to use. So that wasn't that big of a deal. But I can't beat like sides and totals in the major markets. Like, I haven't really even tried, but I don't know if I could anyways, honestly. It would take a while and probably isn't worth it. But yeah, I mean, it sucks with sports betting because you can get banned and limited. So that's kind of pissing me off.
What are your thoughts? I saw you posting that you had added doing the modeling for the points bet model, which allows for a little bigger returns and also more risk of ruin. Is that more interesting to you as something with potential bigger payouts? And are the risks of getting banned lesser in that format or similar?
Someone responded in my thread that they got banned by points bet on there already. So
great.
I like it, especially after I bet the under on Nick Foles and won 150x my bet.
You won 50x'd?
No, 150.
Yeah, that's insane.
And I had the over on Justin Jefferson, which was like 78x.
Wow.
And I had the under on the over on Cook, but he got like whatever, 90 whatever, and it was like 100.
Yeah.
So I lost like whatever, 5x.
Yeah.
So like the way to do that, the way to think of that is it's kind of like a GPP. Like you could set your cap on how much you want to lose. Like,
yeah.
Let's say you bet $10.
It's like a stop loss.
The max is 200. The minimum is 200. So you could do 200x. So what's that? $2,000 max gain, $2,000 max loss. Let's just say both of those are possible with the bet you're choosing. So it's kind of like entering a GPP for $2,000, and then the cut line is whatever that over under is, and each time you go over it, you get one of your bets, and each time you go under it, you lose one of your bets. Does that make sense at all?
Yeah. And does the way it work, like if the max you can lose is 2,000, I assume you have to have 2,000 in your account, and it pulls that out for the bet. Like, how much money do you have to get multiple bets down with that big of a
They must
loss?
have a risk assessment engine in there somehow, because you don't necessarily need the max, but you need close to it, and then they hold I would say like 80% of it, but it depends on the bet type. So if you're doing over under touchdowns, it's only going to be three in the loss direction, because you can't go less than 0, and 10 max, right, or whatever the record is. So it's not going to hold as much. So it depends on the bet you're doing. And the biggest thing to look into there is the distributions. And I'm not entirely sure yet, but I would say, like, if you're not doing the 200x, you're probably fucking it up. Yeah. You probably need to gamble at least the 200, gamble the max on there.
And this is PointsBet's now legal sports betting format in Chicago or in Illinois?
Illinois, Colorado, and I don't know who else has them. I bet New Jersey and Vegas have them, I would assume. I don't know.
Well, it made me also a topic. I mean, I assume you're depositing with those just credit card and stuff when it's legal. Is that how you do for that? Yeah, PayPal. Okay. And then I was going to say, have you, with Bitcoin pumping, I've heard, lots of stories now about people feeling like they're taking losses on bets, or if these offshore books are holding it. Have you run into any of that?
Just with gold and gold stocks.
Yeah.
I diversified off of Bitcoin a little bit. And I don't know if you saw CSU responded to Peter Schiff.
Yeah, I did see that interaction. I didn't know the backstory to that.
Man, people hate that fucking guy. I mean, I love Bitcoin, but I love Peter Schiff too. And he hates Bitcoin. Peter's right. He's like, he is just insanely, just I don't know what the word.
Stubborn?
Yeah, but it's like he just refuses to admit he's wrong with Peter's point. And it's getting to the point where it is a little ridiculous by Peter Schiff, but I still like him. So that's all I said in there. And oh my God, we got like 40 people responding, talking shit about Peter Schiff. Like,
why do you like him? I don't know anything about him really, other than that he doesn't like Bitcoin.
I like. So he was the guy who got popular during Occupy Wall Street. So he would go down to, what was the name of that park? Zuccotti Park or whatever. Yeah. Where the protests were happening, and he did a video that's gotten millions and millions of views, going down and talking to those guys. And that's where I first got into him. And I agree with his economic principles, widely speaking, in his assessment on a lot of things. I mean, like Keynesians and liberals and stuff like that, they probably won't dig him that much in some aspects. But some aspects they probably will, with like drug legalization and stuff like that. But like, that's main right. He's an interesting public speaker, right? His podcast is, he's well spoken, right? So,
and do you, as someone who likes him, do you think his arguments for Bitcoin are sound, or do you think he literally is just being stubborn beyond reason?
I mean, I think his arguments make some sense. Like, that like you can't use Bitcoin like you can use gold. I think is his his main argument, where, there's gold in building a house. There's gold used to make jewelry. There's gold used to make all these other things. So gold has value despite it being able to be exchanged for goods and services. I mean, that is like kind of the biggest knock against Bitcoin, I think, from all the old school investors is that it has like no intrinsic value or whatever. But yeah, I mean, come on. I mean, I'm at Bale's recent post on Lucky Maverick was interesting for me personally on the hedge part because of Bitcoin, and like he's some hedging, that you should basically never do it. You're acting like a pussy, I think is what he says, if you do it, unless you're using it as like insurance or some sort of plus EV hedge.
And he also said if it be like if it becomes an outsized portion of your net worth, then that's another.
I think that's what he meant by insurance.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Outside portion of your net worth or something. It's like at a certain point, it's just like, how long should I hold this? So that's something I've been thinking about. So I am thinking about selling my altcoins that I have.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what to do. I don't know enough about it.
Honestly, like my thought, so like I was a complete fish when that first run, and I got sucked up into a bunch of these altcoins, and and then of course they plummeted. And my thought has just been like, whatever money I would get from selling them at whatever, at the time it was like a 10th of the initial buy. It's like the FOMO I would have if any of those then popped off again, like, is not worth whatever losses I could recuperate. So I'm like, let me just make sure I have these stored safely. I have access. I did an audit like a year and a half ago, just making sure I knew where and how to access all of these random coins. And then I'm just like, let's just wait for another one of these bull runs, and then I can try to get out from under them, because it does seem like stuff will naturally flow into the alts again.
That's my guess is right now, because it's not proportional to what it was during the last boom. And I got in during 2016. So there's how many booms has it been now? 4? Like,
yeah,
except for that big one. Can you highlight Ricky Beer's comment for me?
The most recent one?
Yeah. You lost me at residence.
I think he's trying to say respect, would just be my guess.
I know. I think it's ironic that he doesn't understand me, but expects me to understand what the fuck residence means. I know. I'm kidding, man. I'm kidding.
Yeah. I saw Mike McDonald, like, speaking of I was trying to see if I could find it. He had a thing where he said, like, it was like a little math problem. Oh, here it is. I'll just pull it up on the screen, which kind of talks about, and this ties into what Bales was talking about too, where, like, depending on how much Bitcoin you have, he says, option 1, sell all your Bitcoin at X price today, and you're never allowed to own Bitcoin again. Option 2, don't sell any. What is X such that you're indifferent? I thought was a pretty interesting thought experiment.
Yeah. And his was 150, and that sounds right to me.
Yeah.
But obviously this depends on when you bought in too.
It does. Yeah. It's all, well, and now we are, let's see, what are we at right now? Are we over 18? Close. It's been bobbing around there.
Yeah.
But yeah, this run is interesting just because it doesn't seem to be fueled near as much by, like, the retail investors, FOMO, your parents at the Thanksgiving table asking about it. Like, it seems different this time.
It does. Yeah. And did you see that one chart? I can't remember who posted it, but who knows if it's accurate, but that withdrawals are, like, down whilst the spike is going up, which hasn't happened before. Did you see that one?
No.
So people
aren't selling.
Yeah. Or did I have that backwards? God damn it. It was whatever the obvious makes sense thing is. It's flipped this time compared to, like, the last few booms.
Yeah.
And so yeah, there's a I mean, but I don't know. It's
because my whole thing has been I have only ever bought. I have never sold, partly because just, like, taking on the tax implications seems like a headache, and part of it is just, like, the whole reason I'm buying. I'm not a trader. I'm not trying to, like, I just believe in it long term. So the only way I think I can personally successfully do it is to buy and hold. And it's nice not to have to deal with the tax. Are you selling any, or are you just a long time hodler as well?
Hodler as well. I've never sold a penny. And I feel the exact same way. Like, when I first got into it, I knew more than 99.9% of the general public. But now, I mean, I don't know. But I knew enough to just I liked it, so I bought some of it. I didn't really know. It doesn't mean you know what you're doing when you're trading, right? Yeah. So these are two different things. I'm just seeing some of the comments in our chat. Someone was Brick, I'm planning on selling my altcoins. I know nothing, to be honest. I mean, there is two different things there, though. Like, I mean, I know a little bit about crypto. I just don't know a ton about how to approach it from like a risk assessment.
Do you still regularly buy any, or have you just been in from your initial and letting it ride?
I did the initial, and then I did. I got lucky a few times too. Like I had a good sports betting run and the March Madness 3 years ago or something, and just cashed it out like the week before one of the booms again, and then in all my sports betting winnings over the year, although I just kind of dabbled in it, I would always cash out into Bitcoin. And then I did after the drop, one of the drops, I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to buy $100 a week. Just ride the waves. Yeah. I did that for like a year or something. And then eventually, once it started getting back up to 13 or whatever, I was like, I don't know if I want to be buying $1,000 a week now or whatever it was, like the proportional going up. So I haven't bought any in probably 6 months or a year.
Yeah. I've done, I think now for about 2 years, I've just done the Monday, the weekly buy, just set it and forget it. I just don't even, because the way I think of it is like, again, I'm not a trader. I don't know when is a good time to buy. I just believe in it. And I think of it literally as if I'm putting money in my 401k. It's just like, I want some of my 401k to be in Bitcoin instead of in a 401k.
I mean, we probably should start answering some of these questions, but I want to know, what is your why do you like Bitcoin? Why do you think it's worth money?
I mean, honestly, for me, I do really think it is just ultimate. Like if Bitcoin truly goes to the moon, #rocket emoji, I think it will be, because we've just had like a complete financial collapse of the dollar and fiat and all of this inflation. So I just personally view it as like a really good hedge. And same with you. I learned a lot about it last time, and I do the sound money of it, the scarcity aspect of it. It just working in direct opposition with how fiat works. Like it just seems like the perfect asymmetric hedge to what's going on.
Okay, that's exactly how I was interested in. And ironically enough, to bring it full circle, that's what Peter Schiff preaches, that this hyperinflation is coming, except he says gold and shits on Bitcoin. So it's like I think a lot of people are frustrated by his well, I don't even know what that would be called, hypocrisy or lock-in logic.
Yeah, dissonance there. Yeah, because it's almost like I get the whole thing too of like it is like intimidating from like a tech perspective. Like I used to have all of mine on a hardware wallet. I bought the ledger. I did all that. I literally got spooked because I had a few times like entering my passcode and like it didn't work. I fat fingered a button. It was like, you have 2 more tries and you will lose access to this ledger forever. I was like, I have too much money on this to risk this. I'm like, I'm getting it on a custodial site that I trust, which I realize is antithetical to like the whole idea of Bitcoin and owning your own money and being a sovereign bank and all of this. But I'm like, I do not trust myself with this. I want someone else to handle this right now.
I feel the same way. And the last story, really quick, sad story. My older brother's computer guy. He was mining Bitcoin in like 2008. He sent me the white paper originally.
Wow.
Email in 2008, and he got robbed. And he would store his old computers because they just didn't have enough memory. He would put them in this like storage closet, and someone just cleared out his storage closet outside his house. All his Bitcoin gone.
That's
because it was 2008. And then he forgot about it.
Yeah. Well, so that's
probably thousands of Bitcoins on there.
Yeah. And I mean, everyone's heard the stories of the Winklevi twins, and, they were very early on and they're Bitcoin billionaires, all this, and they were flying across the country, putting in their passcodes and stuff into safety deposit boxes just to diversify where they had those access points so they couldn't be robbed and stolen of all of that. It's like, that's a lot of work to protect it. And ironically, Gemini, their site, is the one where I keep my stuff now. But yeah, maybe that risk proposition will flip again at another point when like the your own personal custodial services get more streamlined, but I don't trust myself right now.
It's also hard. I agree with 100%. It's the same thing I do. But it's also hard to sell when the reason you want to buy is because you don't believe in the stability of the dollar. So, like, why would I sell to go into the dollar?
Yeah.
Right. When the whole reason I bought this fucking thing was to get out of the dollar. So it's like, it's tough. I mean,
I wish I could pull up this comment from Daniel on the YouTube. If I could have mined Bitcoin with my Pornhub usage in my 20s, EM Dupe would be my servant. That's an all-time comment, Daniel. All right. Yeah, sorry. This is what happens on this show. Brian and I start talking about things and get distracted. We had no intention to talk about Bitcoin, but I was interested where you were at on that. All right. If you guys have, I know we have some questions in the thread on Twitter I can pull up. If you guys have some other questions, I know at the top, was there any that you wanted to start with that caught your eye?
Let's do Twitter since they were the first to ask, I guess. And there's two threads because I realized I was posting on Adam's timeline. And I'm like, I don't want him to get a bunch of notifications that he doesn't give a shit about. So I reposted.
I think you're showing your lack of understanding of Twitter. But as a quote retweet, when they reply to you, he doesn't get those notifications.
He doesn't get those?
No.
Not as in notifications?
No. It's only when someone's tagged.
Okay.
So where's your Adam one? Like, so if I reply here, it's just replying to Brian.
Well, I'll be hornswoggled.
I was wondering. I was like, you didn't want to be associated with Big Dick Brick's 28-inch rolling duffel anymore?
I didn't even download the Twitter app till yesterday.
I don't know
what I'm doing, people.
Is this from the draft? Like, I think I saw people have this. Is this like the DraftKings, like high roller, like gift reward program thing?
I don't know.
Yes,
I don't know where I got it. And I'm assuming it is because there was the other one, the Brick's 14-inch that Alex saw. Yeah. I don't know. I think that was from Wayfair or something like that.
Oh, you're right. That was the Wayfair one. Okay. All right. Which of these popped out to you?
Let's answer Steve's, I guess. So we're assuming Steve's serious here because he could just DM me. I think he was just.
I legitimately didn't know if Steve was trolling or serious with this.
He's just giving us content. With contest sizes shrinking, should I be putting team in the captain? What is your captain selection in general? I'm not like 100% against team in captain. And you thought he was talking about League of Legends?
I thought this was like a throwback to League of Legends because that's the last time I had considered team and captain.
So we were talking about this before we went live. I'm and Steve knows this as much as anybody. I'm starting to think that like the only way besides hand building, the art of hand building, the only way to figure these things out is through simulations. Because how do you know when to put two teams on the same team is, right? You're like, okay, well then they have to have a bunch of touchdowns and or low scoring game or something like that, right? And when you're building by hand, you're kind of like, okay, I'm hoping it goes this way, right? Okay, if the game goes like this, this is the lineup that I should have, right? But the only way to really know that is to put it all those inputs into a simulation and then run the variables over and over again and be like, okay, on this slate, given these inputs, that's a crap idea. But on this slate, team and captain is actually not that bad.
And what you're describing is almost like the idea of correlation within a lineup writ large, right? Where it's like if, when you put in a quarterback, his pass catchers are now worth more because if he hits, they're more likely to hit. And now you are like extending that domino out to the whole slate of, okay, if these pass catchers all go off, then what does it mean to all the other pieces in this game and around it and everywhere?
Every piece, because it's all intermingled. Same with the team and team captain and two defenses at the same time. Is he? Maybe he is talking about League of Legends. He's trolling. But it doesn't matter. It still applies to football. Like, yeah, I don't think you can really answer those. I don't think you could really answer those questions without doing a simulation. So, like, here's how you would traditionally answer them. So, like, for correlations, right? The 4-for-4 correlation matrix that everyone's seen a million times. You basically just go through a bunch of data, right? And then find out what the correlation is. Or maybe you might do some regression or something like that. That's like a static number on average, essentially. That doesn't really apply. That can't tell you what would happen in a game when the wide receivers go off, or the defenses go off, or kickers go off, and how likely is it on this slate in this game with this ownership, right? Like, you just go, okay, wide receiver number 1 is 40.49 correlation. Like, well, maybe not. Maybe on this slate it's 0.32, and you know what I mean? And that's not enough to overcome how awesome this defense is or something like that.
And then, not to mention, like, there's the macro correlations in general with positions, and then there's the team level correlations where some tight ends might be more correlated with a specific quarterback than it is across the league average. Like, there's correlations relative to league average as well that I assume a sim can capture in a way that just a static chart can't.
For sure. That's essentially my point. What does it look like?
I was right. League of Legends.
Steve, you play League of Legends now?
I didn't even know Steve was in the League of Legends.
He didn't really play back when we were all playing. He played a couple slates, I think.
That's pretty Steve to all of a sudden get really into League of Legends at like week 11 of the NFL season.
D-Genin.
Yeah, because the other thing too is like the closest thing is sites now have, like, the optimizers will have like a booster, right? Where it's like, if I have this quarterback, boost their receivers projection X percentage, which again, you're trying to manually force that correlation boost, and a sim is going to apply that to the entire slate.
And the key word sizes in his question, and he just mentioned that again, that matters. And we showed this on one of your shows, Pete, with 2 comparative sims, and last week's show with Matt, who's in the chat here, how the sims vary based on the amount of contestants, and they can vary dramatically. So, like, tomorrow, Webb is like, I haven't projected 40% on, which is enormous. And I haven't seen that since, like I said last week, DJ a few years ago when he won by like 15 strokes and I faded him completely. But I ran a sim before the show and I'm getting 0% of them. So I don't love it, but I might be doing that. I am a little high on my ownership for him compared to the market out there, but I usually always just go with my stuff. So I probably will again. But I mean, but if the size of that tournament, I know you want to say something really quick, but if the size of the tournament wasn't like the 100K, let's just say, let's say it was a 20 man or something, 100 man, it'd probably flip. I'd probably get 80% of them.
Yeah. I was just going to say in general, because we get lots of questions about the sims. Brian went on my channel. He simmed out, I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and your sim was just like absolutely spot on with the Chiefs double stack. It had the Jet bring back, and it had Nyheim Hines in there, like just an absolute smash. So people have been very interested in the sim stuff. Can we get an on the record thing? Are these sims ever going to be available? Would you consider sharing them on your site, a paywall tool, or are these always going to stay under lock and key?
No, I mean, they're going to be my entries. Entries, so I can't do that. I share the exposures. But the problem is time. And on NFL Sunday, I might get it in 5 minutes before the clock. Before noon, Chicago time. So there's no way I could post it.
Yeah, because that's the other thing with these sims, right? Like like you were talking about how it's much easier to run a sim on a small field. Like running a sim on the Thunderdome is much easier than running a sim on the Millie Maker, which I assume is basically impossible until we get like quantum computing.
You could do it, probably take you overnight or something. But like, but also the main thing is the news. Like if the inactives for the NFL came out an hour or two earlier, that would save. I could just do it at 10, as opposed to like 11 or something. Whatever, like everyone's decided.
What percentage do you think your ROI would increase in DFS if the inactives came out a day before?
Just for me?
Yeah.
Or everyone knows.
Everyone knows the inactives, but I'm saying you have the chance to run your sims that you aren't able to run.
If only I knew it would go up, but no.
But then what is the advantage of the sims if you're saying that they're not giving you as big of an advantage?
My point wasn't that it was an advantage that I wanted out earlier. I was talking about posting exposures. I need time to get all my stuff in and then go on my website and post them and say, hey, here, take a look.
But I know I'm using like the Millie Maker example. Like, you don't think you'd have more of an advantage if you were able to sim out the full Millie Maker?
Oh yeah, I guess. Yeah, I didn't say that. Yeah, then I could do like all of them.
Because then, right? Because that's the whole thing we've talked about, right? With like some of these guys that run one lineup and they put them in everything, and they're not catering it to the contest size. If you were able to sim every contest, you would be able to cater your lineups to the contest size.
Help. I don't think it would be that huge. And like a lot of these, like Leone does the Thunderdome, and I'm assuming he spends a lot of time and thinks about the Thunderdome. And so it's like, just if I get the info in a day early, that's not going to help me beat him, I don't think, because he already knows all the players and shit.
Yeah, that's true. I was thinking more like the bigger field. I feel like the Millie would be a pretty big advantage.
The only reason I don't think it's super huge is because I don't think there's a huge difference between like the 3 maxes and the spy and stuff, where there's like between 2,000 and 5,000 entrants. Like all those are about the same.
Yeah.
Okay, let's try to get through some of these.
I thought this one's more like generic, but how much stock do you put into subscribing to DFS sites? How many sites are too many to be subscribed to? I guess it'd be helpful to know if you guys subscribe to any and how many. And I feel like the subtext to this question is he talking about just getting access to projections and ownership projections and tools and optimizers? Or is he talking about getting access to voices and picks and content and podcasts? Because I feel like that's where the rub is, right?
That's a good point. Yeah. I was going to say, all you have to do is just be a TikTok superstar like Peter, and people will invite you to their sites. I was probably subscribed to like almost all of them that back in the day, and I just kind of keep those subscriptions, and now there's a whole bunch more sites. So I have Awesemo, Fantasy Labs, Fantasy Cruncher, Roto Grinders. Is there any more I'm forgetting? I probably am.
Yeah, the main one,
daily Maddox site.
Yep,
Daily Roto subscription there. I mean, I it's a little easier for me since this is my job and it's a tax write-off. So I have a pretty good accountant, but I could see not wanting to do all of those. But they all have their benefits to me. I was thinking about ETR. I know you're a big fan of those guys. I don't have a subscription there. No offense to them. I probably should get one. Do they have actual stats though?
Yeah, Leone they have his projections and ownership projections.
Oh, okay. Because you told me they just had like fantasy points.
Last year they were more pared down. I don't think they had any projections last year. And this year, Leone does both the fantasy point projections and the ownership projections for the slate.
So like 250 passing yards for Nick
Cole. So I mean, I know Leone has that on the back end, but I don't know if that is public facing. I don't think it is in their regular. Yeah. Okay. But yeah, I mean, I like it. I make lineups with Leone for our Tilt Space contest. And so I like looking, because obviously he does the ETR one. So I don't need to be in the weeds on those. So I like looking at the Awesemo and Roto Grinders stuff just to get another perspective, because sometimes it's really interesting to look at where are the discrepancies especially in ownership projections, I think it's valuable. And it's also interesting too, because Osimo does all of his by, I assume it's automated and backed by whatever kind of algorithm he has going, where Adam does all the ETR ones, hand builds the ownership projections. I think he has some kind of infrastructure and framework in place, but it's also interesting because I think Adam generally has a better way of capturing like the guys who are getting steamed late in the week, who are getting talked about just by feel. And then Osimo's, I think, does a better job of capturing stuff for like large field guys that are popping up in the optimizers more, etc. So I like comparing ownership projections across a lot of sites.
Yeah, no, I would definitely do that if you have the money. If you're only betting, let's say you only have enough money for one site, probably Osimo. And it also really depends. I mean, they're all pretty good now. It really depends on what you want, like, because Osmo has like his stats too, so I can look and be like, okay, what's he doing? How far am I off compared to him? So I don't, if I see any mistakes, which is really just kind of a good tip for anyone building their own projections. It's like, just make sure you don't have any big mistakes in there. That should be your first goal. It's like, make sure it's not horrible. Make sure it's not horrible. So compare that to everything else, which is like Vegas, prop lines, and some projection site, and make sure there's no blatant errors, names mixed up and stuff like that. That should be your first goal.
There was a question here from in the chat following up on the ownership. Britt says, can you talk about your process of creating ownership projections? Whenever I try to do it, my own projections seem to have too much influence. Do you use aggregated projections to make ownership?
I don't. But using others, it depends on the sport and how much time I'm putting into it. But paying for others and then using those in your process is going to up your R a big time. So if you can afford it, do it. Why not? I try to do mine without any other inputs and then bring them in later if I want. But I can't really share how I do it. Sorry.
Yeah. But what you're hinting on there is a wisdom of the crowd's approach to it, that average across like solid ownership projections is going to end up probably being better than any individual set.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me rapid fire some of these really quick.
Sorry.
From YouTube, Brick, what are your highest scoring QB stacks in your sims? I remember you did a show with Pete a couple weeks ago. I haven't run them yet. Sorry. I don't know. Pete has a million shows. We'd have to do a whole nother show for them to do that each week. I usually don't do them. I mean, football's not till Sunday, so there's no point in me spending an hour or two to do it. Where's Brick's Discord? I haven't set it up yet. That was just hypothetical.
Brian is in the Deposit Kingdom Discord, though.
If you go to Peter's Discord, I don't know if we have a link. Peter's got a link somewhere probably. And you can at me whenever you feel like it. Another question about the Sims. You're right. Sims. Okay, if you want to start, Monte Carlo. Okay, if you want to start into Sims, I would definitely look into Monte Carlo Sims. You can do it in Excel. I do it in Excel. But yeah, if you have the time to do it in R or Python, have at it. Another thing too is you can't, like, Monte Carlo Sims aren't just like a miracle thing. You need to do the statistical analysis beforehand to even have anything useful in a Monte Carlo sim. So you still need to Google like some simple stat processes like regression, nonlinear, linear regression. And, if you're into baseball, you could look into Tom Tango's Marcel rankings for like some simple Marcel the Monkey forecasting for like some simple forecasting. So like you still need all that stuff. And you really need to get into distributions and standard deviation. Like you have to have that. So you got to do all that stuff first and then get into Monte Carlo sims. And if I'm not making sense, Peter, please
No, I like some things might not make sense to me that might make sense to the people who are asking it. And they might have a higher level of baseline knowledge on this stuff. And it's very helpful to them where I have no interest in ever making my own ownership projections. So I don't have the curiosity to ask follow-up questions on that.
Brick and the Car Wizard were separated at birth. Check that channel. All right. I guess I look like this Car Wizard fellow.
All right, let's do it. Let's do it. What did he say? Car Wizard?
Wizard, yeah. I'm not a jock like EM2. I need the Sims. Let's see here. Someone's saying there's a ton of stuff available at GitHub. Yeah, that's a great spot to look. Kegel's another one.
Oh, come on.
Let's get some Brick 75 projections this season. That's going to be tough because projections are all about the last 10, 15, 20 minutes before lock, and I won't have time to upload it. I don't have a manual list. I'm just the one dude, so I don't think I'll be able to do NBA.
Brian, do you see what I have up on the video? Do you agree with this comp?
Not exactly, no.
I would like his amount of views, though.
367,000 subscribers.
Yeah, I do.
How big's his duffel bag?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably like a 6-inch duffel bag at best.
I don't know. He looks like a big dude.
I like that even the YouTube comments on very helpful, car tips are trolling. If your engine makes a funny sound, turn up the radio so you can't hear it. There's the solution.
Yeah, that's like my grandpa would have said something like that, I'm assuming. Brick, I'm from Chicago originally. We were all in the Straddle Magic. But I didn't grow up in Chicago. I grew up in the suburbs. And yes, there's a ton of Chicago people on DFS for some reason. I guess, yeah, we're a big sports fandom area, I think. I think I've got a ton of people in the sports. Maybe that's it.
What happened to the I literally have not seen anything about that DraftKings World Cup competition since the announcement.
Because all the American teams got knocked out, so no one's on our Twitter feeds.
No one's talking about it?
And the guys they picked from the other countries are probably guys who've played DFS like 20 times.
Great contest. Corey wants to know, Brick, what did you study in college? Were you big into Monte Carlo before DFS?
I majored in Monte Carlo sims. No. I was sports management major. I wanted to be Billy Beane. I love Bill James.
Not too late. It's not too late, Brian.
I'm not a huge fan of him anymore. I've kind of hated his trades. And now I don't give a shit about sports in general, really. But did LaMelo Ball go second yet? Because I'm really interested in this NBA draft because you could have just made a ton of money if his Instagram posts.
Yeah, talk about this because I missed this.
So, I don't know if everyone saw this on Twitter. LaMelo Ball went on Instagram and was showing the number 2, which means he says
he didn't go 2.
Oh, fucking good thing I didn't, man.
So tell people what the thing was that moved the market.
So yeah, he went on Instagram. Are you not hearing me? I think I just said it twice. Like he went on Instagram and he said, and he was using like the number 2, like he's going second overall. But maybe he was like saying, I want to go second. And so like the market went from like plus whatever 600 or 300, and it was down to like minus 300 or something. I saw it was just like election night. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, oh my God, you could have made a ton of money.
Was the Anthony Edwards, was he the front runner, or was there any intrigue to him going 1 overall?
I think this was actually the way. I think this is the way the odds were. These top 3.
Yeah. So did you get suckered into making a bet on Ball?
No, I didn't. Yeah. No, but after I saw it was like minus 280. I'm like, well, fuck it. All the juice is bought out of it. So I didn't even bother. And we were going live. I didn't really have the time.
That's funny.
But yeah, I didn't know any of this stuff, Corey. You got to do your own work, honestly. It's not that impossible to get into it. Peter could do it. He just doesn't want to. He doesn't feel like it. And he's got other interests and he's super busy. But like anyone could do it. It's just a matter of
and that is the key. We were talking, I asked you earlier, like where your intellectual curiosity is right now with this stuff. And like, you have to be very curious. You have to be willing to run into dead ends, want to tinker, want to adjust, like me, I've tried to find shortcuts. I'm trying to, find things that I can set and forget, not have to worry about. But like,
look at this guy's bot.
Wow.
You know how many of these I'm using?
Nerd.
0. Nerd. I went through this whole fucking thing and there's nothing in here that's like great.
Really?
Yeah.
Was that an Amazon purchase?
I think I buy everything on Amazon.
It's because you wanted to be Jeff Bezos when you grow up.
I don't think he got Jeff Bezos by buying everyone else's shit and selling nothing and giving away info.
All right, Corey's got more questions. Getting inside the mind of Brick. Did you learn Python or R or just a little story?
I did do a little R, but mainly just Excel. I don't think you'd even, at this point, I would probably pay someone over relearning the code. Because you could pay someone $20 to $50 to scrape the data and run the calculations as you want it. But you're gonna be wasting your money if you don't have like a good base of like, what am I trying to accomplish here? What has predictive value and stuff like that? And you could learn a lot of that in Excel.
OA asks, what's a book that actually benefited you since Excel Sims sucked?
Excel Sims is all right, but like one of the things that was in the Excel Sims thing that interested me is correlation, obviously, and a Monte Carlo sim with correlation in it. But the way he did it wasn't right. Like, it didn't work. I could tell the results were wrong, so I just made my own up. And then I was DMing Rufus Peabody about it, and I'm like, I'm just making this up. He's like, math hacks worked, dude. He's like, just go with it. I think that sounds right, what you're doing. So,
Matt Hudson says, if I have to learn Python, I might as well cash out now. I couldn't even handle HTML on MySpace.
Yeah, it is lame. R wasn't that hard. I mean,
now I don't know anything about this stuff, but when I hear R, I think of more of the benefits being that it allows you to translate that code to more visual representations of stuff.
It's easier to handle the data. Excel lags and shit.
Yeah.
So you can handle more data, and it's got way more statistical features. Like, you could run a whole bunch of different types of regression and tons of stuff on there. There's a billion different types of packages.
Yeah.
That you could plug in and then run. So that would probably be the one I would spend time on. But I'm sure, because I don't know enough about Python. So maybe it's just my ignorance. Maybe Python's better. I don't know.
Who has more packages, R or the Saints for Taysom Hill?
It took me a second. I thought you were going with like a man package first. Yeah. At first, I'm like, where's this going?
Did you know, Brian?
I would take some on the Bears.
Okay.
Fuck it. What do you think about this strategy? And I wish more people would do this in some other sports too. I call it the Kurt Warner strategy. When you're like the Bears or somebody like that, just go to the scrap heap of quarterbacks and just keep trying them each week. Fuck it. And people are like, oh, they need to learn the system. It's like, oh, no, they don't. Who gives a fuck? Give them a week. Throw them out there. If they suck after a week or two, get rid of them until you find Kurt Warner, off of the grocery line from the Arena League. And if you don't, then you draft your QB the next year. Tanking, it helps you tank then.
So it's funny you say this, because the man who founded RotoViz, Fantasy Douche, he's kind of left the fantasy industry, but way back when, he wrote about this idea he called the YOLO QB strategy, and it was for bad teams to just accumulate a lot of these, athletic running QBs like your Tim Tebow types, and just use all of these QBs in tandem, cycling through them. Whatever, this whole idea of just trying to get these athletic guys in that are cheap, that aren't as attractive to the rest of the league, just seeing if you can hit on one, if you can cobble together rushing stats. So I like that idea.
Yeah, it's similar, not exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, for like one season, like Trubisky is like it's the opposite of like nursing along a number one QB who needs experience, right? It's the exact opposite. So you just get, 3 quarterbacks on your practice squad, 3 QBs on your regular team, throw that fucking idiot out there. If he sucks, cut him. Next guy up, cut him. And then you never know when Kurt Warner's gonna. I mean, Kurt Warner was a nobody, right? And obviously, like he's like an outlier, but Tony Romo was a stud. There's a decent amount of guys, and they only got their opportunity through injury. You could argue Tom Brady only got his opportunity through injury.
Yeah.
When Bledsoe's spleen exploded.
Well, and the thing that's interesting too is when that you see like the Packers got crushed this year for drafting Jordan Love and investing capital, and even the Eagles to a lesser extent with Jalen Hurts, where it's like they're by far the most valuable asset in the NFL. Why not be taking shots on these guys repeatedly, trying to restock the cupboard and all of that? And we've seen so many quarterbacks like Mahomes and Russell Wilson come from the later rounds. Like it does seem like teams should be taking more shots at these guys as opposed to like, oh yeah, if we don't get one of these top 10 options, then we're screwed.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I like, and if the YOLO Kurt Warner strategy fails, well, you probably only won a couple games, and now maybe you can get maybe you can get up there and get Trubisky second overall. Maybe you could be that lucky.
Yeah, for sure. I forgot that you do. How much of a Bears fandom do you have in you?
I haven't watched a game all year. I watch Red Zone though, so that doesn't really count. Yeah, I don't turn on the game anymore and turn off Red Zone. I can't stand the NFL announcers. I fucking hate them. They're so bad.
Yeah,
I can't stand the like legacy anything really, legacy sports media, legacy media in general. They're so annoying. It's so played out.
Yeah, I'm definitely if I do have like island games on, it's normally on mute. It's either I don't watch or I have it on mute. I can't. I think the only times I will watch an island game without mute is if it's like playoffs or you're watching with friends and stuff.
We've talked about this before, but they should release like the API or whatever, the feed, and just let us announce it. Not me and you specifically, but maybe you, just like talented regular dudes out there. I'd much rather listen to them announce the game. And then play the ads, play the same ads so you make your money, but let normal people, and I guarantee within 6 months, you'll have some entertaining broadcasts.
Yeah, or again, like the future would be like I fire up my Roku and you can choose from, okay, there's sports betting commentary, DFS commentary, season-long commentary, like pick which one you want. I mean, we've gotten a ton of good feedback. We do that Tilt Space show on Sundays where we go live with about an hour left in the games, and people like, I'm not like bragging, but they're much more willing to listen to us talk about DFS stuff than they are hearing the announcers talk about who knows what they're talking about.
And if you guys had a live feed
to share,
to share, and because you guys are on different delays and shit, like when me and you do the MMA stream, so for sure, they're clowns. They're fucking clowns, and they have this monopoly essentially, and they run it like garbage. And I'm not interested in their product, and I can't be the only one. The ratings have to be crumbling eventually.
Like if I'm using this as an example just because I feel like they're the sport that is going to continue to lose, Gen Z and all the younger generation. But like if I'm MLB, I'm like begging content creators, Twitch streamers, take our content, do whatever you want with it to make it cool, because baseball is the least cool thing right now. Like do whatever you want to make it cool. But they don't think like that.
Well, I think it's also the cable deals.
Yeah.
Especially baseball. They're so big. That's where they get most of their money, and they're locked in for years. So, but maybe in the next one, I mean, speaking of ratings, I saw something where like the NBA's ratings were down like big time the last few years.
Yeah.
And no one would accuse them of not being, hip or whatever, right?
Yeah.
I would assume like they say about baseball. But yeah, I want that. The NFL is just egregiously bad announcing, in my opinion. Open that baby up. Let's see what people can do. You're gonna have so much cooler shit.
Yeah, no, there's lots of I think there's so much potential for that, man. Yeah, if they would open that up and if we like I don't, partly like you said, the idea of like you're watching with people, and I mean I love doing the tilt space. It does suck when we're like staggered and what they're, I personally don't care about spoilers and all that, so whatever. But like the ultimate experience, like if we all could be watching the same red zone feed at the same time, I would be able to stream. I would stream way more like during games, because I think that would be so fun to just hang out. Like we do a Lolz show during a Thursday night game for an hour and just like hang out with the game with everyone. I mean, that would be great.
Yeah, no, that would be, for me. I don't know. I don't know who would disagree. Like who would be like, no, I want Mike Green announcing. It's like, oh my god, like Gus Johnson's awesome. You know, Tony Romo's good. I would say is color guy. Like there's not, of course, there's talented guys. Like Jim Nance is still fun to listen to on, Sunday PGA.
Yeah. Well, it's like, it's the difference of like this. It was like, if I go and I talk about football with my in-laws, which I do, I have a conversation on the level that Troy Aikman or whoever would have with the viewers when they're commentating. Whereas if I were to go to talk to you about football, we're going to talk ownership percentages. We're going to talk about late swap. We're going to, all the things that are interesting to us. It's like, why not allow, everything is so diversified now. There's all these niches in different subgenres that people can resonate with the same content in a different way.
I agree 100%. And that would be like their argument. It's like, well, we need to appeal to a broad audience of children and grandma, from children to grandmas and stuff. It's like, no, you don't. Like you can have like one for them and like a whole bunch more for other people. It's not like 1993 anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Daniel says, I prefer radio than TV if it's a good announcer. We used to do that growing up. We would mute the broadcast and throw on the local sports radio.
Trying to, yeah. And you got to kind of like link up the team and stuff.
Yeah.
But now Red Zone, you don't even got to do any of that stuff. It's always a pain though when it's like a 2-game afternoon slate and you're like, oh, I gotta listen to some announcer for 5 minutes now. I'll turn off Red Zone if it's that starts to happen.
I have a question for you that I actually, before we wrap up here, because this was one of the quote unquote better late swap weeks of the year with so many late games. But I also know in talking to you, it seemed like you utilized late swap maybe less than most people I talked to. Did you end up doing a lot of late swap with so much flexibility this week?
No, I didn't do anything. Did you?
We did like one late swap in one of our tilt space teams, and that was all I ended up doing.
Yeah, like my best team, I liked that I had going in. I liked who I had left.
Yeah,
I had because I had a Gibson, Swift, and another stud running back in the first going into the afternoon, and that was just my 3 players that I had played.
That's
like,
sick.
Okay, it's got a shot, and like everyone else I had Metcalf and flex. I was a Wilson stack, Metcalf and flex. I'm like, well, I'm not going to switch off a Wilson Metcalf.
No.
Yeah, so that tanked. There's a couple questions in Twitter really quick. But have enough time. So, is the reason you not invest more time into beating size and totals is that it's too much work to be able to find enough outs to get down the money? Basically, that, and there's like a good probability that I can't beat them. I'm not good enough. So, why would I invest all that time in to have a shot of not being good enough? A shot of getting limited and having to find outs. Like that's the most annoying thing about sports betting is like, okay, what am I going to do now? Like if I start getting banned from all the American sites, now I got to go all these back onto the overseas books and stuff like that. It's like, I'd rather just, I don't know, figure out getting like a syndicate with a bunch of guys or something. It's just not worth it this like right now. Plus I got a lot on my plate.
Yeah.
I'd like to confirm from a previous show that randomness to an optimizer is defined as assigning an outcome range in place of a hard number for expected points. Also, your views on Theo, of course. I don't know what that means. You know what that means, Theo? Is that
I
Theo?
assume because he was Theo Epstein, I would guess, based because we were talking baseball. Billy Bean would just be my guess.
I don't know. Did he get? I know. I don't care about Theo Epstein. Did he get busted for a DUI though? I might have saw something. Or I might have that.
I don't even know.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, that's not how randomness works on an optimizer. It's not a range of. I mean, it is a range of outcomes, but they're all hardened. I mean, like hardened. They're all numbers based off that initial number. So if you have a 50-point projection and you have a 10% swing on either side, it's going to be somewhere in between there. But it's not like some broad percentage being applied. It's actual fantasy points. So like then he'll get 59 or 50, 59, let's say, and then 47 and then 52. And then the optimizer acts like that's what his projection is, along with the other randomness on the other guys, and his pumps out lineups. What's the best from this? And it's kind of like a little sim.
A minute, yeah, on like a tighter range. Yeah.
Not as good as a real one, but that's basically what it's doing.
Yeah.
If you guys have time, look like an ROI simulation for GPPs. And I asked him if it's football or golf, and he said football. And no, I didn't do those. Don't have time. I did do golf, but it doesn't look like you're interested. So.
All right, guys. I think we are going to wrap this up. Thank you for tuning in as usual. If you guys aren't subscribed to Brian's YouTube channel, subscribe now or else. We also have the link below if you would like to listen to this in podcast form. We are on your podcast app of choice, link below. You guys can check out my stuff on my channel. That link is below as well. And if you do want to go back, I think the show that Brian and I did on my channel a few weeks back is very evergreen too. If you enjoyed and want to dig in more into the Sims talk, although it seems like most of the people watching this have already seen that. So feel free to send more questions in throughout the week. Actually, the best place to leave questions would be in the comments of this video. And then we will maybe we'll try to circle back and grab any of the good ones. And that also helps us out if you leave comments in the video. So, Brian, any final words here before we head out? You want to throw up the two?
The LaMelo Ball too. Fuck sports bettors.
That's right. It's a sports bet. It's it's a tax for the stupid.
You're gonna lose $2,000. I think is what it is.
All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in. We are here every single Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. This has been Lolz.